Hello, welcome to another episode of Should You Roll, the review show where the answer is always, you don't have to. For today's episode, we have King Hassan on the topic, or rather, the Old Man of the Mountain, also known as Gramps from some certain comics. King Hassan is a triple buster assassin, mainly focused on single target and insta-killing. As for his stats, he is sitting at about 12k attack at max and 13.3 thousand health, which leaves him a bit higher than Jack the Ripper. As for his cards, we have the triple buster, we have an arts, and a quick card. King Hassan's extra attack and his quick card both have a lot of hits, which means whenever you do get a quick card or the Brave Chain with the quick card in it, you'll be able to generate a lot of crit stars. He sits at a star absorption 98, which is about the same as MASH, so he should be able to soak a decent amount of crit stars without any support in that regard. As for his skills, we have Battle Continuation X, which grants self-gut status for one time, 5 turns, between 3,000 and 5,000 health. This is one of the main reasons King Hassan is really good at soloing, as he is able to revive with like over a third of his health every 7 turns when used right. As for his second skill, Protection of Faith A triple plus, increases own debuff resistance, recovers own HP, and increase your defense, as well as increase your attack. King Hassan is a very tanky damage dealer, which leads him to survive those 7 turns easier. As for the debuff resistance, it goes from 50 to 100% increase. This doesn't mean that you are immune to debuffs, but it makes it very, very unlikely that you will be debuffed during these 3 turns. As for his third skill, Evening Bell EX, we have reduced all enemies' instant kill resistance for 3 turns, and increased the own buster performance for 1 turn, so preferably on a Noble Phantasm turn, or a turn with 2 or more of your buster face cards. As for his passive skills, we have Magic Resistance, Presence Concealment, Independent Action, and At the Boundary A. The first 3 are kind of generic. Increased damage from crits, increased crit generation, increased magic resistance. They're all nice, but compared to the last one, it's kind of a new one. I think he's the first hero with this kind of ability. At the Boundary A gives you a instant kill immunity. Like straight up immunity. This isn't the same as his charm, which is increased by 100%. He can be charmed, but he has to be, like, the enemy has to be lucky, or you have to have some sort of improved charm success chance on him. But the instant kill will never happen. The last part is kind of interesting. 5% chance to instant kill enemy with a normal attack. This means during solos you have 20% chance on the enemy you hit every time, made a bit easier to perform with the help of the Evening Bell EX. As for his Noble Phantasm, we have Asriel, the Angel that announces death, which is a single target buster Noble Phantasm. Deals damage, chance to instant kill. That's it. With the help of the Evening Bell EX, we will do more damage with this Noble Phantasm, as well as improve our chance of actually landing that instant kill. As for King Hassan's Bond, we have the Rift of the Valley, increase our own debuff resistance by 100%. So whenever you're against an enemy with a ton of debuffs, King Hassan could be your go-to for clearing that. As for craft essences, I would recommend a buster up and a crit up, like Joint Recital. Let's say you were to solo with King Hassan, I would use this for like a damage-focused one, as well as just for improving his damage in general. If you aren't looking for that instant Noble Phantasm, but you're looking for a longer fight where you just need his damage to overall be better, Joint Recital is a good bet. And if you happen to miss that event, you'll be able to scroll down on the fandom website and check out a multitude of buster up and crit up Cs. Obviously, NP gain is always good, or start Noble Phantom in charge, obviously. Alternatively, Volumen is a good craft essence, just because it makes him even tankier. Makes you delay the use of skills by a bit, survival skills. And it does increase the damage of your own cards. So say for a solo, every turn you'd get 2,000 flat damage out of using this craft essence. As for possible comps, we have the generic Buster buffing comp, Double Merlin or Merlin Nightingale, Double Nightingale, etc. Merlin obviously has the deficit that he's a caster, and you normally would use King Hassan to deal with rider enemies, especially dragons. Dragons happen often as the rider enemies you need a single target assassins for. In this case, Merlin could obviously give you the self invincibility for one turn, but outside of that, he would take double damage, and he is surprisingly squishy for that. But double Merlin would obviously self heal a lot. Nightingale, on the other hand, would be a good choice to have all three of your units' cards to do effective damage against that dragon. As for a bit cheaper to play option, or the Dolphin option, say you pull King Hassan or you have Merlin and you pick the other one from your friends list, then you could support them with Leonidas. For one, he taunts. For a second, he has the bus drop, and third, he would redirect some damage off of King Hassan. As for a free-to-play comp, you could use Shakespeare and H.C. Anderson with Hassan, say if you're against Berserkers. These two units obviously won't do much if you're against Riders, since over half your cards would be ineffective. But against the Berserker, these guys would significantly help King Hassan's damage output, as well as improve his crit star gen and buster damage. As for an alternative free-to-play comp against, say, you're against nothing but Riders, St. George and Leonidas would help you with tanking a lot of damage, redirecting it from King Hassan, as well as buffing him his buster damage whenever you have that optimal turn. As for alternatives to King Hassan, we have Heracles, which every new player can start their accounts with if they decide to reroll for it. We have Fate's Day Nightcook Colin, who has the ability to survive for pretty much the longest out of any servant. We have Coalter, who also has the self-dodge in the gods, as well as some damage reduction for the enemy, making him another good tanky choice. And lastly, we have Jack the Ripper, who is a good alternative for dragon enemies, as well as any female rider, obviously. And that will conclude this week's episode of Should You Roll?